Hey guys, thanks for coming over to hang out with me today. I wanted to talk a little bit about how I try to teach lots of young children with A.C.E curriculum. This is something that I have tried to find on YouTube so many times when I was overwhelmed, and finally just this year by trial, I feel like I found a really good routine, and I'm just hoping that it will help somebody else out there who's also struggling with so many young kids. So the biggest struggle for me was I had an older child who was learning to read but not quite self-sufficient, reading everything on her own. And then I had a first grader and a kindergartner. Well, with A.C.E, the beginning of first grade is pretty intense, and also kindergarten is pretty teacher intensive. And I think it's that way with any curriculum because they're, 4, 5, 6 years old, 7 maybe. So they just need teacher a lot. So what has worked really well this last year, and I'm going to continue it this year, is my older daughter. So she was 8 last year. So she was in like second and third grade. She would set her own timer for 30 minutes and work on one subject for 30 minutes. When that time was up, she would set her timer for 10 minutes and take a 10-minute break and just keep repeating that cycle. So she would say work on her paces from 9 to 9:30, then a 10-minute break, and then another 30 minutes working. And in that time, if she had questions, she would come get me. What was super stressful is if I was trying to help my first grader and my kindergartner, and then she would obviously have questions, every so often. And I just could not juggle helping 3 kids at once. So what I decided to do with my boys in first grade and kindergarten was I did like this 20-minute rotation. So I would start with my first grader and we would work on one of his paces for 20 minutes. And then he would go have a break for 20 minutes while I did 20 minutes with my kindergartner. And then we would just rotate. So 20 minutes of first grade, 20 minutes of kindergarten, 20 minutes of first grade. And that would give each of them a nice long break and just a chance to, it just didn't seem too strenuous for them, which was nice. They were getting lots of breaks, and I was only helping one kid full time and then my daughter as needed. And with this, I noticed that probably the first, 3 or 4 months, my first grader needed me to sit with him pretty much constantly. We were also just using A.C.E for the first time, so he was getting used to how the paces worked, getting used to reading, getting used to the little symbols that they use. But then after, I would say 3 or 4 months, he was getting more and more independent. So during his 20-minute chunks, I was able to go grab a basket of laundry and then stand next to him and fold. And as he got more independent, I had a little bit more like freedom or free time when I was helping him. And obviously that was a big help so that I could get housework done. As a side note, let me mention this. When we first started, and I basically was teaching 3 kids who were either not reading at all or not reading independently, I left all of the house chores until Saturdays, which wasn't very fun on Saturdays, but we all pitched in and my husband was happy to help, and that worked really well for us. And I would really recommend that. Just let it go. Concentrate on meals and dishes if you can. That's iffy, but let the laundry go, let the bathrooms go, and just catch up on Sunday or on Saturdays. And that won't last forever. You'll get to a point where you can get more of your chores done during the week and enjoy your weekends a little bit more and that sort of thing. So the other thing I was going to suggest, so that's my oldest 3 kids, and then I have a younger daughter who is doing preschool. So with preschool, I didn't feel like I could do another curriculum at all. But what I would do is just have her sit with me and my kindergartner for the first 20-minute chunk. So she wasn't writing in the paces. I didn't even get her own paces, but she was sitting and listening to the animal songs and the animal stories and doing some of the little activities with us. And then sometimes she would also sit with us for the second 20-minute chunk. And that was perfect. She was getting a lot out of it. It was nothing added, no added stress for me. So that worked really well as far as preschool goes. Now, over the last 3 years of homeschooling, we've also had a lot of foster kids in and out of our home. So frequently, I would have a lot of other younger kids. And sometimes we had school-age children, but they went to public school Monday through Thursday, but on Fridays they were all home while we were trying to do homeschool. So twice we had 8 kids in the home, and it was just a lot of moving parts. So I want to tell you what I did for that as well. Going back to that tidbit about preschool, I would also, because we would have Katie, my adopted daughter, preschooler, and then another preschooler this last year, and I would just have them sit on 2 separate couches listening to me and my kindergartner, and I would have a chocolate chip in front of each of them. And if they could sit quietly for the 20 minutes and listen, then they would get their chocolate chip at the end of the 20 minutes. So with the other kids who were not in that group, I would use stations. So the way stations works is I had 8 kids, so I actually just needed 7 stations because at least one kid is always doing schoolwork. So I would have, in our TV room, I would put on like PBS Kids or Magic School Bus, something like that. And then at our kitchen table, I would put out some puzzles, maybe some dominoes, just some different activities. And then in our living room, I would have some books and some toys. And then in one of the children's bedrooms, I would have blocks and puzzles. And then on the kitchen floor, I would have different puzzles. I would just have all these little stations. And they would just rotate every 20 minutes. So some stations were more geared towards little kids, and some stations I tried to have big kid and little kid things, but they only had to sit there and play for 20 minutes, and then my timer would ding and I would rotate them, like in a sort of a circle to the next station. So they might do every station twice, maybe 3 times per day. And that way we could get all of our schoolwork done, and they were all fairly happy. The key is that no 2 kids are together, because if they're together, they're playing and they're getting loud, or they're fighting and they're getting loud, and that's what makes me go bonkers. I just can't handle when I'm concentrating with a kindergartner and a 3rd grader needs help, and then kids are loud. That's kind of what sends me over the limit. So the key is that they're all separate. Another thing that really helped, depending on the age of your kids, is I was saying the older foster kids that we had were home on Fridays. So I would have the oldest child, who was 9, help me. Oh, there's a hummingbird. I would have him help me. So when my timer would go off on my phone, I would ask him to come and rotate the kids for me. And that gave him an important job. So he felt, more useful, and he totally loved it, and it was really helpful for me. So I didn't have to get up and rotate everybody. And so that was wonderful. As much as I could, I would have kids in rooms where I could shut the door, and that would cut down on the noise. So if they're playing with trains and they're making, sound effects, then I'm not hearing it, and because all the kids' little sound effects add up to a lot of noise. So the schedule and then the stations were really what helped me so much last year. If you have any questions, just leave them down below and I'll try to clarify more. I hope I made sense, and I hope that's helpful to somebody, but we just love A.C.E curriculum so much. Last year we tried to do A.C.E for like reading, writing, and arithmetic, and then do like family studies for social studies and history, and that just didn't work. I just couldn't do it all. So this year we're doing A.C.E for everything, and I'm really excited about it. I just love this curriculum. If you're a busy mom, which all moms are, it is just a complete lifesaver. It's wonderful. So anyways, thanks for coming over and hanging out with me, and I'm enjoying talking to you guys in the comments down below, and I'm thankful for you guys watching. See you later. Bye-bye.